NASA's plan called for launching over 1,000 tons of materials, fuel, and supplies into orbit on dozens of rockets and assembling them in space. But the plan soon ran into trouble.
The problem with the NASA plan was they had to build a giant spaceship because they were bringing out to Mars all the fuel and oxygen they needed to come home. That was 80% of the mass they were sending to Mars. Now, in fact, it never got out of the dock because it was so expensive, with a cost estimate of $450 billion, the Congress refused to fund it and the program was killed.
To get the mission back on track, Bob Zubrin and fellow engineers at Lockheed Martin Astronautics came up with the idea of making fuel for the return voyage on Mars. Their goal was to use the Martian atmosphere for raw material, something that they could simulate in the lab. To convert the atmosphere into fuel, they chose a simple chemical reaction that's been known for over a century. Then they built a prototype to see if it would work. One chamber of the machine is filled with an absorbent powder that could literally soak up carbon dioxide from the Martian atmosphere. In a second chamber, the gas is mixed with a small amount of hydrogen, the only raw material that would have to be brought from Earth.
And they will react to produce methane, natural gas, great rocket fuel, and water.
The water is sent to a third chamber where electrolysis produces the oxygen that's needed for burning methane fuel. A small machine like this could supply all the fuel and oxygen needed for the return voyage from Mars and for powering a surface vehicle. Every pound of hydrogen brought from Earth could produce 12 pounds of methane and oxygen, allowing Mars pioneers to live off the land.
Instead of having to launch a 1,000-ton spaceship into Earth orbit, you launch maybe 200 tons. And maybe you do that in 2 launches, each of 100 tons. Hey, we had boosters that could do that 30 years ago. Okay? If you adopt this approach to Mars of living off the land, it basically means we can do the mission with the technology we have now, or frankly, the technology that we had decades ago.